Speaking of greats, we got Anthony Mackey, who speaks highly, and this is via Variety. He worked with Samoa Joe on the Twisted Metal television show, and here's Anthony Mackey's thoughts on working with our boy Samoa Joe here.
It was, like, how does you're working with one actor, but then you can't? Is Will there? Like, how does that work?
He's not, and it's a testament to Samoa Joe. Like, I was blown away by this dude from the first moment he stepped on set.
Wow.
I mean, first of all, he's a larger than life human being.
Yeah.
But he was doing everything with that mask on. He was saying he was acting his ass off. It was amazing because he and Will worked out this idea of what the character was going to be, and he was just doing like some circus type performance because it was all body work.
Right, it was all body work.
It was literally like he was doing vaudevilles type, knowing that he was going to be voiced over, but
So Joe was voiced over on the thing, but he was doing his thing while he was acting with Anthony Mackey. That's pretty cool. Let's continue along.
A way that I don't think, this is his first time acting, I don't think a veteran actor could have done what he did.
Nah, dude, it's not his first time acting, bro. He's acting in front of a live crowd all the time,
Hey, hold on, this is his first time acting.
We thought he was just going to come in and, Will would...
But shout him out for, putting him over so strong, because this is going to lead to Joe getting even more opportunities as an actor down the line, and that's tight. Hopefully we see him in the MCU or in the DCU or something like that.
And then he would do the movements and I would react to that.
Right.
That's when I was like, that's sweet too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's a heavy-handed mother, but he owned it, dude. He really.
That's awesome. I love Samoa Joe, one of my all-time favorites ever of all time, of all the times. Jake, if you had to cast Samoa Joe as someone in the MCU or DCU, who would it be?
Oh, that's a tough question now, because who's left?
Yeah. Or even if you have to reboot, even if it's a reboot, even if it's like, no, you'll be the Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's where I immediately went. That was my immediate thought, was Juggernaut. That'd be more fun.
What about you?
I mean, because of his body type, it's sort of limited. If you're going to CGI, I think anything. But how about the Thing or the Rhino? I mean, one of those guys, the Abomination.
I like Rhino, especially. Have y'all seen Craven? The one in Craven.
No, nobody saw Craven, and nobody's going to see Craven.
Yeah. I just saw a clip of the Rhino from that movie, and I went, yeah, I'm not going to see this. MJ, are you a Marvel DC fan? Who would you cast Samoa Joe as in either Marvel or DC if you were like a director or something?
I am not one that follows the MCU. And if I was, well, let me say it this way. Pay Samoa Joe to get back to AEW.
Yeah, how about that?
As fast as possible. Because Samoa Joe is a proven commodity. Always has been, always will be. I mentioned before, big fan of TNA back in the day. He's the last great champion they had, and the last time they did real numbers was when Samoa Joe was around.
So we got a question here from Shadow Bat Ash. So how soon in 2025 do you see Will Ospreay becoming AEW heavyweight champion? Your boy Phil will answer first. So how soon in 2025 do I see him becoming the world champion? Not soon, believe it or not. I think it'll be within the first 6 months, but like late into it, like in the 6th month or whatever. I think they're doing something with this. I know Husey came on and was like, there's no plan for this Death Rider stuff. That's what Disco said publicly on K100 is what he heard apparently. So you guys can take that and do with that what you will, but apparently there's legit no story or anything planned for the Death Riders. It's sort of just Mox doing whatever he wants. So
it's week
with no ending in sight. Sorry?
It's week-to-week booking.
Yeah. So I would say in the first 6-7 months. MJ, what say you if you had to predict Ospreay becoming world heavyweight champion in AEW, like when in 2025 do you think?
Towards the back end, I would speculate that Darby Allin will win the championship off of Moxley, and that they are doing a mutual respect friendship between Darby and Will Ospreay starting now, in order to set up that as a match where Ospreay should quickly dethrone Darby Allin because he cannot hold the title for a very long time.
No, he can't. You're right. Jake, what say you, buddy?
If they want to make him the champ, I guess they could, but I feel like he's just one of the guys at this point. I mean, maybe that's what they're doing tonight, is showing that he's going to go through war because he was bleeding a bunch, and now he's going to win the second match too and get all the stars.
They have not had a champion that you actually believe is the main event in a very long time. And Moxley is a main eventer, but they've done the first match with, in Danielson too, right? They did the match with Jack Perry, then they did Moxley, which I guess felt like a real main event. Moxley wins. Yeah. They do one with Orange Cassidy, which doesn't feel like a real thing. And now they're doing this four-way that doesn't feel like a real thing. And nothing Swerve did ever felt like the main event.
No.
He wasn't even in the main event.
No. Yeah.
So, Will Ospreay was the only reason Swerve had a pay-per-view main event. And I think Will Ospreay is a main event wrestler. So, I don't know. You just burned through all these programs, though. Sorry to go long on this, but
no, it's the truth, though.
Will Ospreay versus Okada, Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, Kyle Fletcher, who has one up on Will Ospreay, Will Ospreay versus Omega, Will Ospreay versus all. You can run back all the greatest hits, but you've burned through them already before he's even been champion.
Yeah,
and we've seen all these guys beat him, so it's not like there's a chase. So what? I don't know. It's just an anointment, kind of like the Danielson thing was. Like, it's just odd to me. But, yeah there's potential there. And I think back end of 2025.
Back end. Dose, what say you? Yeah, if we see. I agree, too. Like, it might not even happen yet, to be honest. Yeah. But, Dose, what about you if you had to pick a time in 2025?
All right, let's remind people I haven't watched AEW television or pay-per-views in 37 weeks.
You should say 37 years because it's funnier, and I thought you almost slipped and said it before, but
Well, I'm not that funny. Everyone knows that. I'm told every day on X. Anyway, I would have done it last April, but okay, given the cluster F that is with AEW and how many people are sort of at or near the top, plus all of the politicking, which keeps people at or near the top that have no business being there, I think that it is too easy to overlook him, especially if he does win this Continental Classic and has that stupid title, which means nothing, but they pretend it does. But I'm going to say fall. Before this time next year, he will be the AEW champion because he should be. They have to rally around someone, and it may as well be him.
The news AEW fans were waiting for. We talked about it earlier in the show, and of course, you guys all know that the best guy is
Tony Khan.
But Tony Khan will remain AEW head of creative in 2025.
That deserves some music.
Where did this quote come from?
Well, here's the thing. This ringside roster thing might be not real, but then I saw it quoted in multiple other people were quoting this, putting this out. And then I had seen, which I have a bunch bookmarked, of Tony's like little one-line quotes that came from this media scrum or this media call he did. John Alba is tweeting out all of these quotes from Tony Khan. So this may just be a fake one in the slew of real ones that did come out. I don't know.
He said it yesterday during the scrum, during the media.
He said it. There you go. So he will remain the AEW head of creative in 2025. Yeah, I saw it enough times where I was like, it's got to be real if all these other quotes are coming out too. So yeah, he's going to stay head of creative. That's fine. But I mean, Jesus Christ, how long until they hear this music and not Mark Calloway? Funeral home calling.
See, going back to this Tony thing, I'm just shocked that he would say this because there are people who are openly discussing that they're not interested in AEW because of his creative. So by saying this, you're like confirming to those people, it's like confirmation bias. It's like, yep, nope, I'm staying ahead of creative. And all those people are gonna be like, well, I'm not going to watch your show anymore. And I don't know why he would choose to put that out there unless he feels very, very threatened, and it's kind of like a subliminal subtweet at maybe Warner Brothers.
Yeah, or he said it maybe in jest, like tongue, or like someone asked, and he's just like, "Of course, it's mine. I'll do it." I just think he can do whatever he wants because he can put his money into it. Well, I was talking about it with the mole a little publicly, but I was just joking. Me and Husey have talked about it a lot as well. The whole deal with them is like he can overspend whatever. He's putting his own money into this somehow. You guys get what I'm saying? Like there's no like
he can fund it forever.
Yes.
But I've pointed this out, and like I don't think people understand how easy it would be for WBD to just write off like whatever loss they have to take on this.
That's what I'm saying.
Like WBD is their distribution. If they were pulled for whatever reason, because WBD decides they need to preserve cash flow, or because they decide that, hey, we're not going to move forward with pay-per-views on Max, so therefore this kind of doesn't work for us anymore. And that could be a decision because of technical reasons. They don't want to invest in doing it. There's a reason it's not launching like early next year. It's going to happen later next year. What if it doesn't happen at all and WBD is like, you know what? We were in this for the pay-per-view revenue. Now we're out. We're going to write this off.
I just think that they are I've said it a billion times. They're scraping a little off the top of everything. They're wheezing the juice a little bit off the top of everything with AEW. Yeah, we get, the people who sign up for Max, we get a cut of that because they're signing up for AEW, and then the people who ought to pay the little extra for the pay-per-view, we get a little percentage of that, and we get a little, I don't know, I'm not going to say off the houses, but like we get a little off of the pay-per-views or whatever. We know for a long time they're like, we want the pay-per-view, that sort of thing, and they've already, like, Rampage is gone, so they're already cutting back on some of that. I just think to them it's WBD. If you guys get out of the wrestling bubble and just follow Zaslav and what's going on in their movies, comic book, everything, they're in shambles in there. So
to wrap my thought on that, Phil, if AEW loses its distribution, I'm glad Tony can fund it forever. But where can I curse on this?
What have you been listening to me talk about? It's like a sailor ship out here, but
I just want to, I want to do things the right way. Ask for consent first.
So
where are people going to watch this? Like, where are people going to watch this?
YouTube.
Dude, he'll buy some net. He'll buy like I think Dose said it. He'll buy like Spike TV, what that used to be, and then he'll just AEW channel, and he'll just air his and Ring of Honor stuff on there, and whatever indie he works or whatever. He'll just start airing stuff himself. Like if TNA could exactly where are people going to watch it? The narrative is, well, the TV ratings don't matter except for they do in only the ways we say they do, but then they don't matter. And now they're going to streaming where Meltzer's going to just have a field day with lies.
That's great. Yeah. But even if he buys a network, he's not generating revenue. How is he paying for all of this talent? How is he paying for any investment in the company?
Just lifetime.
He's not gonna blow hundreds of millions of dollars so that this can happen for as long as the industry needs it to happen.
I think he'd
be a good thing.
I think he will. I think $100 million to Tony Khan is ass wipe kitty litter money, dude.
No, hundreds of millions. Like if he doesn't have distribution, he loses hundreds of millions of dollars, which he has to replace. So is he going to pay? Is he going to spend $500 million over a course of 3 years so that people can maybe watch this on Roku?
Yes, I think he will. That's my on. Yeah, you're like 500 million.
I'm like, you'll want to perform there. I guess he'll have to pay them even more money. Which,
bro, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he'll spend $1 billion. I think he was like, I will spend $1 billion. I think he went into this going, I'll lose $1 billion of our dollars on this. I truly think that. I think this is like his.
This is his ultimate dream.
I wish I had his dad that never cut.
That's what I mean. And his dad like invented the bumper.
Insane.
There's endless money. Like every time we're like, oh, Tony loses $100 million, their family brings $100 million in somewhere. I'm sure they're invested in. They own teams. They
get paid by the government. I mean,
that's what I mean, bro. Like $100 million to them. Let's say Tony loses $100 million, $150 million a year. I bet he does not give up. He doesn't lose a wink of sleep over that. That's like, whatever. Like, we got this $100 million. We're projected to do this over here. We're invested in this. My dad invented the bumper. He gets $2 for every bumper ever put on a car ever, or whatever. It's like he's fine. They're fine. So I just think he's willing to spend it all. He's willing to lose himself in the music on this one, baby.
I mean, they've spent it on the Jaguars and Fulham that don't win anything. So they're willing to invest in
get
terrible
shit,
stuff.
and they still are
At
spending
least
money.
those are properties with real value attached to it. Like they can flip those for liquid cash like tomorrow for $1 billion.
Those are cooperatives. You don't need to win. Every time the NFL makes $1, the team owners get 1/32 of it, and his family gets 1/32 of it. He gets some portion of it. The city of Jacksonville or state of Florida or whoever just agreed to build Jacksonville new $800 million stadium.
Oh
The
yeah,
Jacksonville
they gave
Jaguars
DeSantis that money.
overnight they got value by another $1 billion conservatively.
I love the people who don't realize that the cons are so deep with the city of Jacksonville and the state of Florida that the city of Jacksonville gives them money to build hotels.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
When
And
Netflix
meanwhile, they use
signed the
AEW to write
NFL
off
for
tax
2
license.
Christmas games, the cons get some of that. When FIFA does its next, or whatever league they're in, does its next TV rights renewal or partial rights, they get part of that. So he doesn't need to do anything to increase his wealth. If he puts everything else he has into a money market account that does 4%, he's still going to make $100 million a year. And that. So do I know whether he'll spend forever or there's an unlimited amount of money to some amount of loss that's too much, that's a tripwire for him or his family? I have no idea. But he can fund this forever in the current trajectory of the economic climate, especially with their holdings. And I've said this a million times, so I don't know why I'm saying it again.
Dustin Rhodes put this out right before Christmas, so he just dashed all of our dreams. Made Phil Marks look so stupid talking all that. But Undertaker was talking the same, so was Conrad Thompson. And then they stopped, and I kept harping on it because I wanted to will it into existence, but we were wrong. So Dustin Rhodes says, today I've signed a new multi-year contract with AEW. Look at this, man. He goes, I want to thank my boss, Tony Khan, for every opportunity he has given me since coming here and being an original since inception. I've truly had the time of my life. Everybody knows my story and how much I've been through in all my years. Lost my passion and found it again here in AEW at the first Double or Nothing. Did not expect this one last ride to last as long as it has, and man, what a run I have had. I will finish my career at AEW as I feel it is home to me. I've never felt respected and wanted like I have here. This makes me want to do my very best for Tony and push myself harder than I ever have. I feel loved and wanted here. I love all of our roster deeply. I want to thank the fans for all of our support. I want to thank the men and women in the locker rooms we shared, etc. I love it here in AEW. I can't wait to see where the next few years take me. Thank you. Thank you all for your constant love and support, and thank you to AEW. And last but not least, I want to thank my family for their support. They are the true rock stars. I'm once again all elite. So basically, in my humble opinion, I'm sure the whole Rhodes wrestling, whichever one that Dustin started. He started his own wrestling league, and we know that like the Nightmare Factory in Atlanta or whatever is WWE ID. But my prediction is WWE, he probably talked to them about his Fed becoming WWE ID and all that, and he probably talked to them about what he could go do. Or maybe he didn't, but maybe they offered him something, and then he could go back to Tony and go, look, they offered me this much. I'll sign with you for this much. Who knows? I was hoping to God we would see Dustin Rhodes get a Hall of Fame induction in the WWE. Probably will likely never happen now, which sucks, unless maybe one day in the future Triple H is like, we'll do it, AEW, like if they're running out of high school gyms or whatever, then, and they really don't care about it, then maybe it'll happen. But for the time being, as Dose and MJ stated earlier, they are competition. They're running the same night, the same market, the same night, neck and neck tickets sold and all of that. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy for Dustin. This rah-rah speech thing is what it is. He probably once again got more money than he'd ever fathom in his life to just stay with AEW in whatever way they use him. And they'd be using him the same way in WWE. He'd maybe pop up and do a match or two, and he'd probably be working in NXT and just being a producer, rarely appearing anyways. So I'm glad he got pretty sure the most money probably he's ever got to do that. So I'm happy for him. However, I am, as a fan, as a fickle Phil Marks, I am selfishly upset that we will not see him in the Hall of Fame. However, we will give him his due and his round of applause. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the last deal probably ever going to sign anywhere. your guys' thoughts on Dustin Rhodes riding off in the sunset in AEW. Just whoever wants to go.
Did Tony Khan pay him by the word for that tweet? Jesus. That was long. Sorry. That's all I got.
Do you think he won't get a Hall of Fame induction?
Not for a while now. It'll be postponed for a long time now because
I can see it being worked out where he agreed to stay in AEW under the premise that, like, when called, he'll do it.
Okay, hey, I'm down with that too. I don't mean to be all Debbie Downer, so maybe you're being a little more optimistic than me on that one. I think Tony's very like, no, I'll pay you more to never show. Like, he wouldn't even let Dustin go in the ring for the Cody Rhodes WrestleMania thing, but Brody Lee Jr. was in the ring for Cody's WrestleMania thing, you know? So I think Tony's being I think Tony values Dustin more because of what Cody's doing over there in WWE. And I think he's like, oh, no, we need you. So I think it'll be postponed for a while now. Or if that deal isn't but I do like that idea. I'm sure that could be worked into it. Why wouldn't it be? And it just gives AEW the rub as well.
Yeah, right. Like, and also that would be an interesting one for Tony. Like, are you going to let Dustin Rhodes, who decided to stay with you, do the Hall of Fame, which is an honor and like truly something deserving? Or are you going to be, a shrewd businessman that, doesn't allow for that?
We'll do it, but we want Nathan Frazier in exchange for one match.
I don't think WWE is going to offer it to him until his contract is up. I think we're talking like 7 to 10 years, but he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Clearly, Tony valued having him more on AEW in whatever role as a player coach, as part of it, as having a Rhodes on his roster and not. Because I think that Dustin rightly saw himself in the Cody story near the top of the card. And I think the WWE rightly agreed, but maybe for 3/4 of a year. And then he'd be more the coach jobber kind of guy. And Dustin probably didn't want that. And
I don't think WWE wanted him to wrestle. And I think he wants to wrestle.
No, if he's there, they would definitely want him to have Cody's back on something, but ultimately be the weak link, and Cody has to avenge him. I mean, but anyway, it's all speculation. What do I think of this? I think it's fine, and he's keeping stepping. So whatever. Okay.
Hey,
keeping stepping.
On a different note, you mentioned -1. Did anyone catch the clip of, I think it's -1, Bray's son and somebody else doing the
Strowman
doing
the ring.
Oh,
yeah, I got it in I got it in WWE news.
Sorry to jump the gun, but that was such a feel-good moment. Like,
yeah.
-1 is still marrying Poppy Rhodes, Brandy and Cody's kid.
I thought you were talking about Gringo Poppy for a second, Brendan Schaub. I was like,
I didn't know where that was
Chili.
going.
No. So here we go. Someone tweets this out. Speaking of people who aren't smart. So AEW's graphic department take another L here.
This PR team.
This JJ Alexander tweets out, look at this dumb. They didn't even try to do a decent Photoshop. It's like they noticed afterwards they were wearing their WWE Hall of Fame rings, and some dude just used the screenshot editor on his phone to put random black dots over them. And there's multiple versions of the graphics of this. Like, there's multiple versions of different graphics that the Rock and Roll Express are featured on with their rings blacked out like that. Do you want my opinion? I think they know about it. And they are like, no, it alludes to WWE. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I could see people going, well, if they think it's WWE Hall of Famers without us actually saying it, and then they just black out the WWE logo. I could see them being fully aware of it, and this isn't like a botch. Or if it's a botch, what a terrible botch. Either way, what a bunch of stupid idiots is all I'll say.
Idiots. This is exactly the same as AWE in Australia. 2, I just figured that they joined the Green Lantern Corps. And 3, you can literally run into the Rock and Roll Express at your grocery store. I mean, they're everywhere. This is not something to advertise around.
Yeah,
sorry, MJ, go ahead.
No, this is precisely what we were saying before. Like, they just keep walking into these own goals where it's like, why do you keep putting out like memeable, joke-ready content? The other thing is, and why is this the picture they're using where the guys are wearing the rings? Are there no other pictures?
Moving along, though. Oh, sorry, though. The Rock and Roll Express, what do y'all make of them, like, coming back? They're just doing an appearance. Good for them. Get the money. They're
Get that payday.
Yeah. So earlier, Toni Storm, she opened the pre-show for this pay-per-view, and she's also in Ring of Honor the other day, Boxing Day Brawl. So, one of the people everyone loves more than anything in AEW is just relegated to ROH and Rampage, and where even Brian Alvarez was appalled, and she's opening the pre-show. And I don't know.
You get the reason, don't you?
Well, yes, I broke it down earlier, but here's the thing. You can do this on Dynamite, bro, and Collision. You don't need to do this. People want to watch her. No one's going to go watch Ring of Honor. True. I try to explain this to people. Hey, if everyone was going to watch Ring of Honor, guess what? They would have just went and watched it already when it was the thing. You know what I mean? But they didn't. So just because you do Ring of Honor and put AEW people in it, it's not going to make people go watch Ring of Honor. Okay, you got to rebrand it as your NXT and not put that, not even just put it on YouTube. Like, don't just run indie shows with it and develop talent. But instead, they're fixated on, like, we're going to try and get a TV deal. No, like Ring of Honor died already. It's like when WWE resurrected ECW. If people were going to watch ECW again, they would have watched it then. And they would have watched it in its purest form, not this shell of what it once was or whatever. Same with Ring of Honor. It's a shell. It's Tony Khan's interpretation of what AE ROH could be. No one wants to watch that, period. I'm so sorry. I loved Ring of Honor, old Ring of Honor, but I understand. I'm Uber Mark, and that's why I liked it. I'm a degenerate that watches all wrestling. That's why I like
it. PJ Black, duh. But you're right.
Yeah. So John L. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Didn't somebody just name her 2024 Women's Wrestler of the Year? It's not even the end of the year, and that's already aged like milk.
So moving along here, speaking of Jesus, we got John Alba here talking about Tony Khan, the sickos Jesus, Tony Khan. And there's a bunch of these quotes, so this will just sort of be a through line as we scroll through some of these headlines. But Tony Khan says that he cannot comment on this time on Jamie Hahn's allegations towards AEW. Dose, you break down the Jamie Hahn thing here as best you can for me.
I'm not that well versed in it.
Okay.
But I believe that it involves BJ Whitmer, who was fired recently for being abusive, maybe to Jamie Hahn. I'm not sure. I will say that it's part of the public record that his ex-wife Kelly Klein accused him of the same thing, and then it's in the lawsuit that she filed against Ring of Honor, among others, that ultimately got lost in arbitration, like most wrestling lawsuits end up living. So I believe that she was that she left because of that. She was given a payout, signed a non-disclosure agreement, a global release settlement agreement, which is fine and normal, but it was leaked and made public. And what AEW's response was, oh, we were subpoenaed. We were subpoenaed by either the prosecutor or BJ Whitmer's defense attorney to assist with the defense or assist with the case. And she's like, you weren't subpoenaed. You volunteered it. So I don't know if they were or weren't, but I think they could produce a subpoena right away. And if they weren't subpoenaed, they can't assume that they eventually would have been. And you do have to wait for the subpoena. And usually, so in non-disclosures, in confidentiality sections, there's usually about 4 recognized exceptions. And one of them is court order or subpoena. But typically in that, there is also part of that usual clause. It says something to the effect that in the event that there is a subpoena or other request under legal proceedings, like a deposition request, or there are depositions requesting just documents, not testimony. It's called ducus tecum. I might be pronouncing it incorrectly. Latin is one of those things that people pronounce different ways. Right. In any event, but in that you can say, in the event that happens, we will notify the other party, in this case, Jamie Hahn, and she would have an opportunity to file a protective order, whatever the appropriate mechanism is, to get that sealed or not have that released. So usually, even if there is a court order, there is a procedure where the involved party has an opportunity to try to fight that from going public. But in any event, she's saying there was no subpoena, so either they jumped the gun or they're just making it up. what the facts are, I don't know, but that's
Right.
what I understand to be the situation.
And apparently, like AEW allegedly or apparently whatever had some sort of NDAs in place or something, or he worked for AEW at the time. Like, what am I missing? How that connects to Tony Khan and AEW?
Well, she left with an NDA. I mean, because she was the alleged victim of the abuse from BJ Whitmer, who I think was arrested over maybe this or something related to it. He was let go. He probably also got a payout and probably also signed an NDA.
I think he was a producer
There's
for
nothing
AEW.
unusual about. I mean, if you're going to settle a case with anyone, you're going to have an NDA as part of it. I mean, it's legal malpractice not to put that in there. So it's not the NDA that's the issue. I know people hate NDAs when
I know that's what I'm saying. Like, that's if you just go in the IWC, that's what everyone's stuck on. Tony made him sign NDAs and all this. And so she was like a wrestler, like training to wrestle, or
I think she was in the office.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. So see, I don't know what the